Hard times build character.
This isn't just a show, this is real life. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
You gotta see it before anyone else can see it.
Every second, every minute, every day.
We train for life. We got you.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Relentless Way podcast, season number 3, episode number 12, Like-Minded Leadership. Paul Alvear, as always, here with my longtime friend and business partner, Matt Strout. And we have another very special guest with us today. For Matt and I, our second time connecting with this man here. Goes by the name of Mark Guteri. He is the Superintendent of Upper Freehold Regional Schools. We are very, very excited to have him here today for many reasons, but solely because of just the way that we naturally connected with him the first time that we met him when we walked the halls of Allentown High School in efforts to kind of bring all communities together. And a great experience then, and we're looking to bring that to our listeners now too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. We met a long time ago, but it's been obviously, through Paul and I's journey, marking our 10-year journey as a whole of building the Relentless brand. This is, being involved in this setting has always been a part of us in the schools, the young generation, and being leaders in the community, since that's how we started this movement. So we've always worked to connect with different leaders inside of the scholastic system. And it's been a long journey, let's say, but it's the reason why Paul and I never give up is because of, as we do go through our journey and meet different people, we end up meeting some really good ones along the way too. And I think this has been a relationship that we're super, super grateful for, to see how he, conducts himself first as a man that we hear about throughout people that we do know, but then also as a leader, and the way that he's not afraid to do what he knows is right, to stand up for what he believes in, and to just lead that community, even though, sometimes you have to be first, and you have to stand up, and we honor that. We're grateful for that. And from, like I said, from the first time we met him was a great experience, walking through the halls and giving that experience of what we believe a true leader should be, which is not being afraid to be on the front lines and being involved and listening to the people, and trying to really deliver and take all the information and then come up with the best answer for everybody, not what's in it for you or what's in it for this guy, the next guy. And he's done nothing but that, from, like we said, from what we hear in the streets, and then what we've been able to connect on the short experiences that we've had already, and we're looking to build off of. So again, very grateful, long time coming for us to be sitting in the presence of someone like this, just as a leader, but also in the position that you are. So very grateful for this and excited.
I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up to be here with you guys. Your energy, your passion is something that I can certainly relate with, and I'm happy to be here. For sure,
a little bit different of a setting, but you do have a good amount of students in the district that, I don't know how often you're in front of all of them, but there's over 2,000 students or so?
Over 2,000, about 2,300 kids.
So, little different setting. We're getting our listeners up, but you get a couple hundred ears on this for sure.
All good. It's all good.
Again, as our goal always is to bring positive perspective, right? So, or perspective in general. But like we talked about pre-show a little bit, our listeners have the ability, and everyone has the opportunity to take those little nuggets, as we mentioned, and make them into something positive for them and learn from. Reflecting back on our first time that we did meet Mark,
right.
I think that's one thing that Matt and I can really pat ourselves on the back, that we pride ourselves in, and being better students than we ever have in business, is just taking little things from the first time that we met with Mark, and just running with them, and changing the way we do things, and adjusting and learning, and asking Karen questions, who was on our 2 episodes ago with one of our other community members, Kara. So so what we like to do, as all of our longtime listeners know, is we kind of like to just bring you through the journey, and obviously we don't have all day, right? But we like to connect the dots and bring you through kind of a little bit of Mark's experience in life, and what he has from his upbringing to what his mindset was, his mission was, all the way to now. So where I want to start is a fun fact that we do know is that Mark attended and graduated from St. Peter's University.
Go Peacocks.
Peacocks there, made a nice run in the NCAA tournament, and then graduate school at Seton Hall University.
Correct.
So leading up to that, which was a little big chapter, a lot of life leading up to that.
Sure.
Where were you? What are some trials and tribulations that you experienced, and what got you to that point? Was that always something that was on your radar?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously college was on my radar. I grew up in a very supportive family. Both parents always pushed us to do whatever we could to be our best. Grew up in a real unique family, which sort of got me to where I was. And I have 4 adopted siblings.
Oh, wow.
So I have 2 black brothers, 2 Korean sisters, and a biological brother.
Wow.
Oh my God,
So it was like we grew up in this sort of white suburbia, and grew up like the coat of many colors. You know what I mean?
And
like
where'd you grow up?
Central Jersey, Branchburg, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And loved it. And I'm so grateful now looking back on it. It was great growing up. We were all very close. But looking back on it now, sort of the idea of having that family and such a unique family certainly opened eyes, opened ears to so many different things. And, from the positive things of like being exposed to different cultures, but also like the negative too, where we'd go on vacation and someone would shout something or something like that,
for sure.
And so it was just things like that sort of developed me as a person. Sort of seeing the good in everybody regardless was something that I think definitely resonated from when I was a kid. My parents were always like, they were always about like positivity, like joy, energy. They were always just great people. And my mom's still alive. She's retired, obviously, and living her life, traveling all over the place. But my parents were definitely the foundational components of my family as well.
Right.
We're all very close still.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Don't talk every day. It's sort of that. Get older.
Life's busy though.
But we're all over the country. But when we get together, it's like we've never left each other.
That's beautiful.
God,
my dad's one of, as I mentioned before, my dad's one of 6 boys.
Right.
So there's 5. One of 6. So he's number 4. I think he's in the middle somewhere. But either way, point is, what you just said, like got that feeling for me, because that's how they are. I always explain them. They're like they live all over California, Washington, Texas, but when we're all together or in a heartbeat, everyone's always there and back on the same page. But that's for you as a father now and a family man, for you to look back, you're probably a lot of proud moments in there, looking back of what your parents were able to do for you, were able to do for your siblings, and it's a beautiful thing to hear.
Yeah, it's definitely. I lucked out that I had models. Excuse me, I had models for who I wanted to be.
Yeah,
and that allowed me to sort of be a better dad, be a better husband, and I appreciate everything my parents did to excuse me, subconsciously they sort of, by their model, by their example,
right.
Yeah.
Which we all are, pretty much a model and example to other people.
Well said.
They were able to sort of instill in all of us, the whole tenors of education, being good to people, not judging a book by its cover, those types of things. And so, I think it's made me a better person.
When you growing up, so now as you're climbing the ladder a little bit, you're getting through school and you got your mark set on education, right? And going into that field, are these things that you carried with you, like saying like, I'm going to bring this to wherever I go as a teacher, as a principal, or was it things that kind of came out of you as you were going through your time at St. Peter's University, and like how did that come about? It's
interesting because my dad was a lawyer, my mom was a guidance counselor, right? So I went to college thinking, okay, I'm either going to be a lawyer or
that's a great mix.
But here's the thing.
I like that.
I started off as an accounting major.
Right.
So I'm thinking accounting, because in high school you're thinking like, how much money can I make? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to be an accountant. I'll make a lot of money. Took my first year of accounting and I was like, I hate this. This is the worst thing I could ever do in my life. So then I was like, okay, law or education. So I majored in history, minored in education.
Right.
And there's a sort of a crystallized point in life. Dr. Joe McLaughlin, St. Peter's University, I actually wrote him a letter after I graduated.
Wow.
Had a class, it was the strategies of teaching reading, so it wasn't like anything about joy, passion, or anything like that. But the way he taught that class with energy, with joy, with passion, the way we went on, like in college, we went on a field trip. We went on field trips, like in this college course.
Yeah.
He had us sitting in a circle, you know, like things like that were just different. I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
I love what he's saying. I love what he's doing. And it really changed my trajectory. It really cement in education as where I wanted to go with it.
Wow.
There's something to be said about opening the mind too.
Right.
Because like now thinking about like experiences that we've all had, and as he highlights that, it's like there's something to be said about just not following the exact path, and like these educators like yourself now, but as you look back, like, you could probably say like these professors in college could easily just sit there and assign what they need to assign and follow that straight line, but moments like that had probably more of an impact than anything else in that straight line in your life, you know. It's a beautiful thing,
and it's where education, so colleges, many college courses that I took up to that point in education were just lecture, and I was like, ugh, this guy's teaching us how to be teachers, how to be educators, and they're just standing in front of the class, just dictating to us. And then here I go into this classroom, and this guy's like, come be a part of this with me.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, it showed you a whole other side, like you said earlier, which we take a lot of pride in, is, you know, there's a lot of people out in the stands these days that like to shout out to the players on the field, right? And I think what we like to do is work to be the example. So we're very not judgmental. We're very much so more, you know, empathetic and want to go over and be warm and help people understand, right? And it's like, but in that moment, that teacher, that professor showed you like another example, and it just like popped the light off, because in that moment you saw what it did to you, right? And you're like, what? Like, I could take something that I love and I could it's transfer of energy, really. It's beautiful. It really is a beautiful thing. And especially today's day and age, it's not seen as much. And that's why we do feel so, like, you know, honored to be around someone like yourself who is not afraid to take that and run. You know, this is what we need more in the world. So we're happy to bring this out into the world, to show people, like, when you have that passion behind something, that's the first thing. And if you could find that and start running with it, the things that you could do and impact other people's lives is tremendous, you know?
And it's important not to take that lightly too. So even in your gym, you know, like, you don't like take that lightly, that you're responsible for these people. And so it's the same thing with education, like whether you're a teacher, whether you're a custodian, whatever your job is matters to other people. And so that's where it's all about. Yeah.
And also, to, you know, the example of that professor, it doesn't, like you said, what course was it?
It was strategies of reading.
Right. So like, it's just the type of individual that you come across. It doesn't have to be like, if anyone listening thinks like, oh, well, I have to find that perfect course, that it's just going to happen, and when it happens, you have to take advantage of it. You know, I can reflect back to, well, you know, I did a short stint at Albright University, well, half my college career there, and I transferred because I went into statistics off the bat. I was like, oh, where could I go make some money? Here we in the math direction. Then I ended up transferring to Kane, and some of my best professors there were not professors that even had to do with my major. They were just people that came in the classroom and included everyone and stood for the stuff that we have on our walls today, the core values and the culture and the standards and those things first, right? And that's kind of also why I asked that first question of, were these always things that you had in line, and you gave a beautiful answer. No, this is when it kind of popped up, and I realized, you know, what it really is about, you know. And for us too, I mean, I think, you know, it's tough to say along the journey, like, because for us it still builds no matter what. But over the last couple years, and we, you know, one thing we do is we attribute the pandemic and that downtime for us to be able to work more on the business and on our team and on our culture. That's when it really came to life. Like, when now we're putting it on the walls, you know, bring your knowledge and passion. Like, we have all our core values everywhere. Before then, it was just a lot of coming out of our pores and out of our mouth and speaking and us. Yeah. Now it's the whole team, though. Now everyone feels and everyone goes with it. Yeah. I think because, you know, we were able to emulate some of those experiences that you just explained and say, all right, guys, let's go. Everyone together, and literally we're going to have a meeting every week during this pandemic. We're going to get in a circle, and we're all going to talk about how we want Relentless to be as a whole. It's not about him and I anymore. Relentless is higher than us, you know? So it's an unbelievable thing when you could have those experiences, and and again, that's also why we do this podcast too, because we hope that you take those little nuggets away little by little,
It's taking your vision and put it into action.
Yeah.
100%. And leadership-wise, when we did meet with you, we were able to meet with some of the other higher-ups in your program and your team, and you could see how, I personally believe there's no other answer, but, there's not the best way to lead, but the only way to lead is by example, right? And leadership always trickles from the top down. I don't care what anyone says. So if there's a hole in the boat, you got to go to the top. It's not this person's fault. It's about the leader taking ownership, stepping back. I like to call it going into the lab, right? I like to go dark, be quiet, alone in my own self, educate, go through experiences, try to find the solution, and then go with your like-minded individuals and be like, no, this is what we got going on. Like, this is what I'm like, and do that as a team. And that's like what life should really be about, right? It's problem solving and overcoming adversities and watching humans grow, right? Like, why would we want to ever get away from that, right? It's so cool to watch. And you've seen it from, a cool thing from your perspective is something we can relate to as well, is because you have so the children that you lead is from what ages?
Basically 3 to 18.
Correct. So that's beautiful, number one. Then, so not only is he leading that, but then he has a whole team that leads the children, right? Which is, these are adult human beings, right? So that is something that Paul and I take pride in, is our ability to change our hats a lot of times throughout the day. We talk to and lead all different walks of life, from children to elderly to people who are looking just to get over something very deep in that moment, and also people who are looking to like attack and crush life and just keep. So there's so many different dynamics inside of there, and it's an art, really. It doesn't just happen. So, but the day that we did walk through the school, you could see the standards at which everything was just set. And to me, that's you down, right? And we know that just from those small conversations of talking about like-minded leaders and books and podcasts. We started shooting. We're like, we got in the car. And we're like, we like this guy. Like, this guy's not like anybody else we've ever met in that field. Let's say, right? Like, we've been blessed to meet a lot of great leaders and hard workers and people who take pride in their name. But then to see it in that system was a really blessing, because that's what we want for, like you said, for the community. We take it very seriously. But then to know that you're out there leading that crew, you got you said 2,300 students, 2,300 children that are getting led by the example, right? And that's what this world is about. And then that starts compounding down the line, because then you have the teachers who, as they keep growing as an example too, it trickles into their families and their homes, and that's the community, right? So it all comes together. So
it's one of our tenets of our district, our mission statement, which I'm sure mission statements are so important. It's all learners welcomed, accepted as they are. So it doesn't matter what baggage you bring, doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you're a high flyer or someone who struggles. Like, ultimately, we love you, you're with us. And the same thing for teachers, same thing for our staff. Like, teachers are heroes, and I'd say that 1,000,000% what they do on a daily basis. And they got to get up there and basically, like you had mentioned before, Paul, like the idea of whatever course they're teaching, like a great teacher could make like how to grout a brick wall exciting for people because of who they are and their presence in front of the classroom.
And make it a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. So like that. Those are the heroes of the district, and certainly, like we want there to be a certain structure that people follow. We want people to sort of be good moral characters, examples for kids. But
you could see that from the outside, man. I mean, we're in our early 30s, and a lot of our friends and their families are looking at their next home, their forever homes, their places they're moving. And I'll tell you, a lot of people are looking your way, and I'm not just saying that. Like a lot of, and we after we met with you we noticed it even more, because people are saying, they're looking at the map, Cream Ridge, this. I'm like, what are you looking there for? Upper Allentown High School. The programs there, the teachers everyone's open-minded the way they're thinking. I'm like, how do you know about that? And there's many other districts obviously in the state. I'm sure you connect with too, and you learn from. But it's a beautiful thing to hear and know that that's out there. Especially my wife's a school teacher, first grade, and she she definitely has her reservations of certain moments of the way it's been going, and not having her freedoms and her, like you said, her ability to teach a class on grouting and teach them a lesson. You know what I mean? Not that she's doing that, but she just, in her 7-8 years in the profession, I've never heard her turn to me, and I think I told a story a couple weeks ago. I think I told you. we're hanging out, and one of my buddies I grew up with popped something on the Facebook about, an office, someone working for his insurance company, and I jokingly said it out loud, anyone? She goes, me. And I was like, what? Like, I've never, she was just always like this is what she wanted to do. She grew up, she loved it. And again, there's a combination of things. I'm sure we could go on for days about that, from parents to leaders to everything. Yeah. But the point is what you're doing and the freedom and what you allow inside as a leader, you know what I mean? Not just letting people run around like chickens without a head. The organization, the structure. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that leads me to my next question, I guess, is what? So when did you go from I want to be an educator and a school teacher to a principal?
So I actually had another. It's funny how people come into your life and they sort of like alter direction or motivate you to do something. So I had a principal when I first started teaching. I taught in a small Catholic school in Newark, New Jersey, and I had a principal, Steve Schlitty is his name, and he's like, the way you look at things, you look at big picture items, like you have to go get your administrative degree. And I'm like, not interested. I love teaching. I want to be a teacher. He's like, you got to get your administrative degree. You got to. So I, of course, like thinking he was like so awesome, and he still is today. He's just a great, great guy. Pushed me to go to get it. Got it from Seton Hall. And then as I'm taking that coursework and I'm thinking about like all of it's about like, almost like all those, it's like a bunch of TED Talks all at once where you like listen to people talking about their passion, their joys, their energies, about what they do, and what education means to them. And I remember having a teacher, the first teacher I had in grad school. Her name was Eleanor Ford. She used to be the superintendent of the Archdiocese of New York. Right. And she used to have a sign, and this always resonated with me, behind her desk, and it said, "The answer is yes if it helps kids." Wow. And like, talk about just a great message. Yeah. And so like that became sort of one of my motivating factors. Like, the answer is yes if it helps kids. I love it. That makes so much sense in so many different ways.
Right? Isn't it crazy though? Like simplicity. Yeah. How simple things should and could be.
Right.
We're blessed to we have fresh babies now. Yeah. Fresh babies. And to watch fresh little humans, because we work with, when you get that blessing to watch from scratch a fresh little baby and to understand the simplicity, it really brings me back down every day, and it's a humbling, beautiful experience, because it reminds you, like, you just need to have a little fun, you need to have some joy, you need to interact, you need to have lessons. Like, that's what life is, and if you could do that and just continue to do that, it could be really beautiful. But the way you said that is beautiful, because now I do have my own baby, and we are going to be looking into the next chapter, and that's what you do, and like that should be like. So when I think about what school is I'm sending my baby to go get better and to grow and to evolve, right? And to know that the leader is thinking that's like his starting point, and then everything trickles. Like that's beautiful.
You think about
very well said.
You think about like in education now. You think about as babies, and I have 3 daughters of my own, and they're like as soon as they're born, you're focused on their care. You're focused on human touch. You're focused on obviously eating, those types of things. But it's all about like gentleness, care, making them smile. Think about that. Like that's the same thing that we should be focusing on through high school too. Right. Is like care, how to make kids smile. Those types of things are so critical in terms of like the development of kids, regardless of what age they are.
It's the base. It's at the core.
One of the things that teachers actually get nauseated by hearing me say this over and over again, it's not my original quote. John Gordon is credited with it, but it's kids don't care what you know until they know you care. I love that. Like ultimately, you could be the greatest teacher in the world. You could be that teacher who knows everything about science, chemistry, physics, math, social studies, whatever it is. Right. But if they don't think you care about them, you're done. There's nothing you can do in front of that classroom that's going to make them listen.
It's so true, and that I'm reflecting to the Relentless movement, and it goes hand in hand with the way that we've come to operate. It wasn't like we've learned this more and more, and now we're at a pinnacle of it with our team. We have 10 plus coaches now that are operating fully, and a large percentage of them are in their early 20s. But that is one thing that you're seeing it. Like, that's what's separating. If there's true, genuine care, they're having more success with, to the base of it, just bringing clientele in and having people invest in them, right? Like, you're seeing it when the human can read that. The child could read that even more because their guards are up so much. They're protecting themselves so much. They, stranger, I don't know you. They just want to, once they feel that you care and you truly do, it's like, I'm here for you.
100%.
Which it could be, it could go both ways too. I'm sure there's people out there that could take advantage of that and manipulate kids' minds in different ways. But on the positive end, it's such a beautiful thing that when you could create that comfort and that feeling for the kid to be able to be in an environment to grow and to learn, and that's what we're there for.
100%. And then Karen actually talks about that too. Not to give you guys a big spot here, but when she comes, like the reason she comes before work is it like just the environment you've created. It like creates her day to be a positive thing for her. And it all starts from the second she opens that door and goes into your place.
That's why those are our favorite hours in the morning. They never were. We used to only open at 8 like years ago in our first 2 years. But those are our favorite hours, and for us too, because we'll always drive people towards, like, if they're struggling to find time right off the bat. I can only get there after work. That's part of my problem. We say, pause for a second. What does it feel like for you just thinking about coming here at 6 a.m.? Like, no. Just think about it for a second. 6 a.m., what's the latest you have to leave to go to work and start your day? All right, 7 a.m.? That's fine, but trust us. Just try this morning. Like, if we could have it in the most perfect way, we'd only be open from 6 a.m. till middle of the day and have everyone attack the morning. Because there's some. It's really starting on the right foot.
Right.
And something that we've included into our system, especially with our Relentless Way membership, which is like a lot of like more remote and like being the coach being in touch and a life coach inside and outside the facility, is the morning priming, the morning workout. So people at home saying, hey, listen, you might only get in here 3 days a week early in the morning, but for those other 3 to 4 days a week, this is what you're going to do to start your morning every day from your living room, from your house, from your garage, from your workout area. And that right there just gets the endorphins going, gets the mind open, and allows everyone to go and reach their full potential daily.
100%.
Something stood out when we first met. I think you might have said it. Karen has said it many a times. There's a quote. It might even be somewhere in your mission statement that you guys. Is there another quote in there that you guys like live by? It's something about more toward the staff. About keeping your
Next Level Redbirds.
No, that's a beautiful one too. But about keeping your happy, like kind of like happy staff, happy. I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So there's actually a book by Neil O'Connor's. It's if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students.
Yes, that's it. I was trying to remember it. As I'm doing my notes, and in my head I'm like, I'm not going to dig deep. I'm not going to ask. I'm going to bring it up. And I knew it was something in that direction. Yeah. So let's talk about this a little bit though, right? If you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students, right? And in a way, meaning going back to the conversation that we all just had, it's like, if you don't take care of your team, if you don't, and that's in many ways. It's not just obviously compensation. That's bringing education in them, making them happy, making them smile, making their energy be positive, right? And there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah. And the whole premise is like the idea. It's about how do we make teachers happy with what they do? How do we improve their wellness? In terms of both mental, physical, emotional. Like, it's so important, especially during the last couple of years where it's been an emotional train wreck for many people.
Oh, for sure.
And the work that they've been doing. They went to school, they went to college, and they learned how to teach. And all of a sudden, you throw a computer in front of them, and just like kids lost that human connection. Well, teachers need that too. Part of the reason a lot of teachers got into teaching is because they wanted to be around people. They were people, and so. The idea is that book is just ideas about how you can help your staff, how you can give your staff something that they need, whether it's encouragement, whether it's a bagel on a Friday, whether it's something that can,
Sort of
and
acknowledge
honestly, like that's a work in progress for us. Like we're not perfect at it.
For sure.
It's definitely something we got to get better at, and certainly something that we're always constantly having conversations about. Is like, what can we do for our staff? How can we make them feel better about themselves? How can we make them recognize how much we appreciate what they do?
Yeah, you have to constantly water that for sure.
Yeah. Think about it. Angry teachers make angry students, right?
Yep.
Happy teachers make happy students, right?
It goes back to even there's leadership from the home level too,
Right.
in life. Like
100%.
mom and dad are groggy and grumpy, and they're not happy with life. It trickles down to the kids, and you know what I mean?
100%.
I love this. We have a new coach that has recently entered our team. He's 23 years old, and we've been having some really good talks lately. And he said to me yesterday, and he's like, I never met anybody who, like, you're the only person who's given me like positive reinforcement like that I can remember over the past how many years. He's like, I don't know why you do it. And I said, well, I wasn't always like this, number one. But number two, if you notice, I also give you very direct criticism, and I'm not afraid to be honest and straightforward because I want you to get better. So really, there's also studies in this, scientific studies. I think it's like around the age, it's an average age, I believe, of like 12 to 15-ish. But the percentage of humans after the age of 12 to 15 years old that get like a hey, good job, or like a pat on the back is like 0%. It's like so down, and it's very sad because as humans we crave that.
So true.
And it's a beautiful thing because it's not, and I don't do it. So as I did go through my journey, when I realized how powerful it was, I probably did it over the top in the beginning, and then it was like too much because then it's not special. And I believe now I'm in a pretty good position of understanding the dichotomy of when to really boast it up and then when not to. And the analogy that I gave to him that really helped me as of the most recent thing is with my baby. She's going to be 2 in June. And as of recently, I've been really watching. The one lesson I love as of recently is when she's done eating, right? She eats, she's a good eater, she's hanging out. When she's done though, she's like done. And she's like, I want to get down right now. Like we should have knew already, right? And we're like, all right, take a deep breath, relax. She'll start throwing stuff. She just doesn't know. Like, right, so we're like, all right, relax. So now she'll take her cup and throw it on the floor. And at first you may try like, oh, no, right? You say, no. Now, us being coaches our whole life, and my wife is really good with that as well. We're a great team, so we're not really trying to. We're trying to teach and build and have lessons, right? So in the moment, you could raise your voice and you could try to be like, no, or what I really pride myself in doing, and my wife as well as a team here, is we could say to her, no, just no, right? Like no in a nice tone, like not raising, yelling, just no, and say, you want to get down? Yes. Okay. Well, Daddy asked you if you could put your cup on the table, like, nice. Then we could get down, right? And I was, so you're gonna do that? Yes. Okay. So then I give her the cup back. She puts it down. Then we go. Then we celebrate the positive. We celebrate the good. Now we've been doing that like really aggressively the past 2 weeks or so. Anytime she does something great, she looks and she wants that reiteration. So she knows Mommy and Daddy are proud of you. And she wants to be good and proud. And it's not that I don't say no bad. Like there's no bad, but like, let's say no bad. That was bad, but if you do this, Daddy will be proud. And then she wants to do this now.
Choice,
and constantly making these analogies, and I see that now we lead people day in and day out, and it's crazy how like if you could connect with humans, just let them know that you want the best
100%.
interest for them, right? And now it's like, listen, I want nothing but the best. I want you to be free. I want you to thrive. But at the same time, I want a good enough relationship where if you're not doing that good, I want to pull you aside. I'm not going to embarrass you. I want to talk to you and let you know how you get better. And then I want to throw you back out there and get there. And that ability to build relationships like that is everything. So from a leadership standpoint now, dealing with adult human beings that have been set in their ways, they've seen their own life. It's a never-ending thing, So I know you can understand that as well, but we can also see how you've done a pretty great job at creating something like that through your system.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because what you said just resonated with me, Matt. When I was in college at St. Peter's, I played soccer all 4 years. And I had a couple different coaches. I had coaches that were like, if you make one mistake, you're coming out of the game. And we're coaches who like, you make a mistake, it's okay. And they use it as a learning tool, right?
Yep.
So I've always been, from the day I was in grade school, a positive reinforcement. I need positive reinforcement. Obviously not so much now, but like I still like it now. But
of course.
Of course.
But like growing up, like positive reinforcement, I need someone to basically acknowledge what I'm doing, and it's just it's a psychological thing, right? So, but then as we go through this, same thing with adults. Like adults need positive reinforcement too. teachers need positive reinforcement. The custodian needs positive reinforcement. The bus driver needs positive reinforcement, because ultimately, like, we can't be in the business where you make one mistake and you're out, or you make one mistake and you're horrible and you're going to get yelled at. There are places like that where it's when you say top down, you say, you know, like, that term just makes me think right away of like the guy who's screaming and yelling,
for sure,
or the school district.
And that's unhealthy. That's
of course.
Unhealthy,
and or the school district where you walk into a classroom and if the lesson plan doesn't match what's in the book, you're in trouble. That's not the way. That's not good institutions. Institutions are going to have to adjust to life. Like these are real people. Real people.
We're going to see that. I mean, we're going to see a lot more of that in the way that you guys operate. Now, let me ask you, what has been the biggest challenge? Let's just go with, especially with a lot of the potential scrutiny that could come your way over the last couple of years, but even just in your position, how long have you been superintendent for?
So I've been superintendent for 4 years.
Okay.
I was assistant superintendent before that for 4 years. Middle school principal, middle school vice principal, teacher.
So through the journey of all that, what was the most challenging part from, I guess, in the inside, like parents, other staff, all that? What's the most challenging part for you?
So same thing, back on this positive reinforcement thing. So we went from a district, and this is like every district, we went from a district where like 95% of the time people were happy, content with what we were doing, to a period of time where 50%, 50, like every decision was scrutinized, every decision was questioned, and it's like, you know, your sole purpose every day is that I want kids, I want teachers, kids and staff to be happy and like doing their best, and then on top of that, we were dealing with like people who justifiably were upset about the time frame, like the emotional toll it's taken on our country in terms of in our district, like whether it be in the home, whether it be in the classroom, whether like emotions have come out. People who I'd known for years who were like positive, like this district's great, became like people who were like criticizing like every breath that was made.
So you say rightfully so. So how did you I'm excited to hear the way you accepted that.
Yeah, so like, and this is sort of like my philosophy of leadership too. Like, I don't know everything, you know, and if you think you know everything, you're destined for failure. So every time someone would have those things, like, it's important for me to listen. It's important whenever you want change, whenever you want improvement, you got to listen to everybody. If you don't listen, then you're not going to have trust. Trust is a key component of leadership. So, like, I felt like how I addressed it was to give people the audience, to give people the ear, to give people the ability, knowing what everybody was going through. People needed to vent. People needed to sort of like let it out, because some of their venting I might have agreed with, you know what I mean? Just like, but sometimes I didn't, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to agree. They don't have to agree with me, and it's sort of like, I think in any situation, whether it be during this last 2 years or whether it be at any time, and this is probably, and I'm not going to get off into this like whole country thing, but like,
you can
disagreement.
You should kind of
like disagreement's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Like, we've gone from in that time period, we went from like where disagreement should make you richer, should make you better as an institution, to now, or a country, to now like, if you don't agree, you're a bad person, and I can never be your friend. I mean, like, that's weird,
isn't that right?
So, and that's not what leadership's about. You have to listen, and so. I mean, I can only do my part, you know, in my world, in my, you know, is that disagreement's okay. I mean, we have disagreements with our wives, with our spouses, with whoever it may be, and it doesn't mean we don't talk to them for, well, sometimes. No. It doesn't
mean, a day or so.
We're in the doghouse for a day or two. But ultimately, like, you know, like, you still love them. You still, you know, and the same thing with people. Like, whether they're a parent or teacher, I still love them. I mean, like, they're still part of my team, sort of part of our district. And whether you're a parent or teacher, you're part of our team. For sure. You know?
And I think it starts with that. I think it starts with, like you said earlier, is making sure everyone's comfortable first. Right. So what probably helped you in these moments, especially the last couple of years, but even just off the bat, the way you come and establish yourself with, in a sense, with arms wide open, right? And people know and they're comfortable with you, so then they know, like, in your right mind, you probably step back and say, okay, they're coming to me because they're comfortable, so I should be honored and privileged now to listen and to accept what they're coming to me with, right? You're in that position for a reason, and you see, and not just in the scholastic world, right, but all over, like leadership everywhere, right? You see people that are in these positions, and I guess they forgot how they got there, or maybe they got there in a different way. That's probably why they don't accept it in the way that we're talking about. And they're like, I don't have to answer that email. I don't need. Like, what do you mean? You're the leader. And that's the problem, right? You're the leader of this company, of this movement, of this community, of whatever it is. These people want to come, and they want you to listen to them and give them a response back. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be bad, right?
100%.
So, I mean, I'm learning right now as we're talking. I'm listening more to you, and we talk about this all the time. Our growth as leaders too has been more of listening to the team more. Here, like we talk about when we made these during the pandemic, when we did shut down and or not fully, but our goal was to work on the community, the core values more, the culture, and the big part of it for us was step back and let everyone else speak for the movement. Right. And we're gonna find what players they're not made for, aren't made for it, right? And we found that out, and that now we have our weakest link is as strong as it's ever been because of that. You know what I mean?
I think that's an important point in all of this is like you have to be able to listen, and if you can't listen, like the idea that you're a singular voice and that you're the only voice that matters. And whether you're the president, or whether you're a person in a big, Fortune 500 company, ultimately, or a superintendent of a district, like you can't feel that you. Obviously, there are decisions that I have to make, and I got to make.
Of course,
totally get that. Yeah. But if I'm a humble person and I'm someone who wants to hear what other people say and genuinely feel that way, it's better for the district. It's better for me and my sort of singular growth. Yeah. But it's part of leadership. You have to be able to listen.
For sure. And there are people out there, like you said, I mean but they're unfortunately the ones that are doing a lot of the damage in the world right now. There are people out there that really just don't give a crap and that are in those positions, and that's the legacy they're going to leave, But as we always talk about is like, if you're someone listening right now and you want to leave that positive legacy and that's what you want to live for, then this is where the direction we need to go. You know what I mean? And if you're someone that, hey, you're cool with, you want to go out in your own world and you want to be solely that singular individual in person, that's the problem in the world right now, is those people that are just, I'm on top, me, I'm enjoying life, I'm doing what I have to do, but it's a legacy you're going to leave behind ultimately.
And there's a method to the madness. Like if I want teachers, if I'm that like screamer, yeller guy, what am I expecting of everybody else? You know what I mean? And if I'm going to listen, I hope teachers will listen to kids with different opinions. I hope everybody will listen. I mean, that's an important part of it.
I was just going to lead into that a little bit of talking about relationships and standards, right? So like your relationship you spoke upon, our wives or our significant other, like any good relationship is about like figuring things out together. Like if you really think about it, you have two human beings who are completely have their own stuff, right? And then you bring them together, like, and now you're going to conduct one life. Like, so like you should still always know who you are as a human, and then how you could complement each other, right? And then like, but the glory in it's not even like arguing or fighting, but it's just like having a different opinion and working through. Like we always say, there was a moment in time for us as young entrepreneurs where we felt like we had a chip on our shoulder to kind of tell everybody we knew everything, until we kind of just sat back and we're like, honestly, we don't know anything. Right? So like, but the difference as a leader is that we're not afraid to just figure it out. So like, even when we don't know what to do, we do something. There was a moment though when we realized like we need to take in all of this stuff, because that's going to ultimately allow us to get that big picture answer and paint the big vision. And when the vision's big enough and everyone feels like they're a part of it, it allows them all to climb the same mountain, we say sometimes, right? So we have this huge mountain we're trying to overcome. You're trying to impact every child and teacher who's an adult humans that comes into your empire, basically, because it's all different. It's different, so I like to call it that. It's young, it's middle school, it's old, you have a really big versatile spectrum there. That's big. But those standards trickle. So like, for example, we take pride in our standards. Like we have Wyatt here today working with us, who is an intern through the vocational school that I went to, that we have gone back to from 10 years ago to build a relationship with, to now bring young, hungry, passionate kids in to help build a career.
Right.
And we've been blessed to bring 3 people already on through this, and now we have him here today. But he's met us through a Zoom speaking engagement, okay? He felt it and he reached out himself, which shows his level of leadership, which makes us proud, which makes us want to say, hey, come by, we want to meet you. From Tom's River, he comes all by himself.
Wow.
And he shows up and he's been here for X amount of weeks, let's say, maybe, 2 months, let's say, to be crazy. It might even be too long. But the kid shows up when he understands the standards.
Right.
And that makes us proud. Like, from day one, he carries himself at a very high level anyway, but that's the type of people we want to attract. But the proud moment for Paul and myself as well is, no matter when we're here, the standards now have been set. And that's a proud thing, because as a leader, you understand that in the beginning, it's a lot of you doing a lot.
Yeah.
And you doing it and not looking all the time, right? So as we come up, we do like some of this. But in the beginning, as a leader, sometimes you're doing things first and everybody's like, I don't know about that, right? So you have to just keep doing it. And I believe as a leader, there becomes a certain part in life where you do truly believe in yourself, and you believe in your morals, and you believe in your ethics, and you believe in what you're standing for, and then you just kind of go for it.
Yeah.
And you don't look back anymore, right? And you don't need that constant reiteration, because you almost kind of expect, like we talk about Tom Brady competing in sports, that boy shows up, he expects to win.
Yeah.
So if you ain't showing up expecting to win, he's going to put you out, right? And I think as a great leader, you expect to do a great job now, and it almost takes a weight off of you, because you're almost not even worried about yourself in a way, because you operate at a certain standard. And when you could get that, because then you start seeing the people, and then it's consistent, and they're like, wow, this guy's the real deal. And then that becomes contagious, and we talk about that all the time. Like, the culture, the core values become contagious, and when you could see that start trickling down from a 17-year-old kid to, we have some coaches who are in their 60s and everybody in between, but that's what people know you as. And like Paul said earlier, the word in the street of who you are and what your town stands for, that speaks volume, you know what I mean? So it's good to know that there is still great leadership out there, because that's what we strive to be as well. We want to keep connecting people with. So,
and I think, just to add to that point, that principle I talked to you about, Steve Schlitty, would always say to me, good institutions are going to survive with or without you, but it's sort of what legacy you leave with those institutions. So the people before me, Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Well, I heard about the guy you replaced too.
He was
awesome.
awesome.
He was amazing.
Yeah,
we heard
amazing.
that was
super energy.
People were nervous for you because of his standard, right?
Super energy.
True. Great point.
A mentor to me as well. But he set the groundwork, and then it's sort of now, this is where we are now, and so what's that legacy going to be? It's Matthew McConaughey in his Oscar speech. I love this Oscar speech, because I'm never content. I'm always. I don't know whether it's called it might be self-doubt in some respects, but sometimes I'm always analyzing myself, what could I do better? How can I do this? How can I improve this organizational system? How can I do that?
Self-awareness, self-doubt, same thing. You got to have some of it.
In his Oscar speech, he talked about his idol is him 10 years from now.
Yeah, I love that.
Him 10 years from now, and he's never going to reach that goal. And I think as leaders, that's one of the big parts is I don't think you can be a good leader if you're content. You're content, you're happy, you're joyful,
but present. Yes. Yep.
If you think you've done it all and you've got it down, what's the purpose?
Yeah, there's no more.
Right?
You're done with leadership, basically.
So I'm very aware of the fact that in the same thing, we want everybody to improve in the organization. So if I'm not the lead learner, which is a common term that's used, if I'm not the lead learner myself, and I'm not trying to get better myself, because ultimately I have to,
right?
Because where I am 10 years from now, I want to be better.
Yeah.
So when did you recognize, not recognize, or when did you feel again, like you said, you're always going to have a little bit of that self-doubt and self-awareness. Right. We're going to hold on to that. But when did you feel that your cup was filled enough with the confidence of saying, I'm where I need to be,
So it's all about, for me, what I feel like in the morning. And it's a very simplistic thing for me. I love going to work. So it's not even work, really. It's just it's a passion, it's a mission, whatever it may be.
I love
so every step in my life, I had someone push me to get to where I am. It's interesting. Like it's not necessarily. It's both self-driven, but also pushed by others.
Right.
I was pushed to get an administrative degree, become a principal.
Yep.
As I was principal, I was pushed by Dr. Fitzpatrick to become assistant superintendent. I was like, I don't want it. I love being a principal. I don't want it. He's like, try it for 6 months. If you don't like it, you can go back to being a principal. Okay. Tried it, loved it. Then Dr. Fitzpatrick, unfortunately, has to leave suddenly for medical reasons. And it's sort of like the natural person is the superintendent.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but from that point, like where I am now, it's like I love going to work. And I'm a big quote guy. So Ernie Johnson, NBA, right?
Yep.
Ernie Johnson,
Analyst, guy that sits at the desk with Charles Barkley.
So this is pretty cool. So opening faculty meeting this year, we have the whole staff, right? The whole district staff. So I usually give a talk, and my talk was about a speech he gave to the Alabama football team. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's awesome. And in the speech, he talks about that he feels blessed because he doesn't have a got-to job. He has a get-to job, right? So he gets to do that work. He doesn't got to. He gets to do it. And we talked about that as a staff. This is a get-to job. Like, we get to do this. Like, this is how I feel about where I am. So my confidence in where I am has to do with the fact that I love what I do, and I feel very comfortable doing it, and I never lose track of the fact that I get to do this. Like, it's a privilege to do what I do. Bring it full circle. So Ernie Johnson, someone in the staff knew Ernie Johnson personally, reaches out to Ernie Johnson saying that, Mark gave this talk, and so he shoots me an email saying, hey, I heard you did it. Have a great year. Share it with the staff.
Awesome, man.
So it was really cool stuff.
Talk about leadership. I watched his documentary with his son.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
I think away this year.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did. I think that was one of the moments my wife walked in and saw me crying on the couch. I was like, oh, she's like, you watching the game? I'm like, no, it's pregame. It's pregame. But
super good guy.
Wow.
Super good guy.
One thing that really stands out to me is you really didn't pinpoint a moment there. You're right. You didn't pinpoint a moment because you always believed in yourself, that for starters, and you always it was something that you get to do. Right. You always just showed up and you loved it. So for you, you were almost full, but it took those other people that knew you and truly knew you to just give you that little extra nudge to say, you're full, but go get this too. Go get this too. Go get this too. But if you really look back, feeling internally, most likely you probably felt the same way you did when you were a school teacher to like every single step of the way,
It's so true. When I got my first teaching job right out of college, I was teaching 30 kids, every subject, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know like where or how it was going to be, and so I fell in love with this was just like the greatest job. Like, and it was a $16,000 a year job. It was like, but like you knew these kids were with you all day long, and so you knew them, they knew you. Still friends with them on Facebook now. They're all in their 30s, because I was only 21, they were like 14. So it was like, and so. But that taught me so much, and what I knew then. So the self part that I knew is that like this is something I have to do. I have to work with people. I have to. My vocation is to work with kids. Those were two like non-negotiables. Period. And that's sort of that first teaching job. Sort of then the trajectory started going.
I have a question to that though now. So when you set out to work with children and lead children, inspire and be the example, there's obviously a major shifting point in your personal career upon leadership here. Was that a hard moment for you to make, to know that, all right, I'm not just going to be leading children, now I'm going to be overseeing all of these adults as well?
Whatever position you're in, you're always saying, I'll never do that. I just love what I'm doing. As a teacher, you're like, I'll never be an administrator. I don't deal with all their problems, right?
Seriously, that's because I hear that a lot.
Yeah,
so you had to have gone through something.
Yeah, so it was like, I want to be a teacher. I love teaching. This is the best. I could do this for the rest of my life. And then like, you recognize like, it's a different type of vocation, different type of passion, but you have like in a way, not the you have like a greater impact in some respects in terms of decisions and stuff like that. And so I sort of like that idea to be able to look at big picture stuff and sort of like, how do you look at the trajectory of a whole district or a whole school
rather than just your classroom,
rather than just your classroom? How do I set how do I support teachers and
that.
doing whatever they can? And like I got a very similar vibe from that than I did as teaching. And then as a principal, what I love that principal is like you knew all the kids rather than just your class.
Right.
So like to me as a principal, which I still would say is probably like the coolest job ever.
Right.
But like it's something that like you still knew all the kids, but yet you were then affecting them all. As a superintendent, my struggle now, and I'm still working through this, is like, how do I have more interactions with kids? How do I have more, connection with kids? Because ultimately that's what I got in this for.
And who says that, like, guys? Let's just say that.
Yeah,
what
so-
superintendent even talks about that?
Right.
Honestly, no, I'm being real. Like, the fact that you want to go to the trenches, we call it the trenches, going down with the people, like being in there, because that only helps you make decisions better.
From what I hear, most of them don't ever want to respond to the staff. No.
I get
For real, like,
I get frustrated on days where I don't get out of my office.
Wow.
I get frustrated, and so like sometimes, especially during the spring, like at 4 o'clock, I have to leave and I have to go watch a team play. Because I have to remind myself that this is why you got into it.
Yeah.
It's like so, but in the superintendent mind, you're always looking at like, okay, is that blade of grass, should that be cut lower? Or should, you're always thinking like, so are you guys, right? You're always thinking about like, this is great, but I see something that we can improve upon.
It's like everything's going great, and about the grass.
And garbage can can be moved over there.
Yeah, exactly.
The little thing there.
That bench, we need to move that bench.
Exactly.
So funny.
But you're always looking for what the experience is for the kids, for the parents.
I was just going to say, great word, the experience. We pride ourselves in experience here as well, and that's what it really is like, you want to give the greatest experience, and you realize at this point, which I know you know this, is that at a certain point, somebody's calling these shots.
Right.
Like, somebody's making the decision. Right. So, like, why not it be you? Because the reality is you can handle this. Yeah. You know where you've been. You know where you are. And you know where you're looking to go. Right. And you know what your best interest is. And the fact that you can keep boiling it down to that, I believe, is one of the greatest separators. Because no matter how high up you go, what we've noticed throughout our own journey of seeing different peoples and growing inside of companies, or also self-made entrepreneurs, we have both really great relationships in all different spaces there. When you lose touch with the bottom, and I don't want to use the word bottom, I like to use the word trenches, like the people on the ground, on the ground level that are truly interacting more than you and delivering the product more than you. When you really create that space, that's no good. It's a matter of time before it creates that separation, because they don't feel that connection. They don't feel that true, like, what are we doing? Like, what are you just up there calling stuff down? That's why we attacked the corporate gym world. Because to me, it's like, how you gonna you can't run in an office up there and shout numbers down 100%. For me to hit when I'm in the trenches with the people. Coming from the corporate world, we call this the people's facility. Right. This is for the people. What do the people need? Right. They want to get better. Why are they discouraged? Why are they scared? Why are they getting hurt? Because they need guidance, leadership, they need accountability. So let's create that then. So it was a complete shift. And you could see how you do that as well. It doesn't have that like corporate, like overly like down the ladder line feel. It feels like you look in the hall, you're like, oh my god, that's the superintendent, like, you stiff it up, everybody, like, but in a good way, like, but that's what you want, that standard to be met, and for the kids to say, wow, he's like down here hanging out, like, this is cool, like, that's special.
Well, I once was told by a teacher back when I was first starting, they said, you can't smile as much as you do, and I was like, You're absolutely wrong. I'm going to continue to smile as much as I do, and I think that's something that has always resonated with me. As like, you got to be able to do these things. Karen and I, for instance, we're a team. Like the other day, we had sub issues, so I'm like, look, I'll cover lunch, you cover lunch. I'll go sub for that class in 7th grade, and we did, because it's like, we have to do this. Like,
that's badass.
And, that is so cool.
You probably, as much as you have to, I could just feel you probably get fulfilled a little bit by it too. You're like, cool.
Lunch duty for kindergartners is one of the coolest things you can do, man. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Cute.
I love it. So, you talked a little bit about obviously making sure you get out to the games and do certain things. That's not your downtime, right? Or not your that's not it, right? So you have your 3 girls.
Yeah.
You live in the district?
I live in Millstone.
Oh,
so
cool, nice.
Coincidentally, back to the original point, we moved there so they could go to Allentown High School.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah. Before.
So we used to live in Brick.
Yeah.
No. When I worked at the district, though, my wife works in Princeton.
Okay.
And so when we were in Brick and I was commuting all the way to Upper
Okay.
Freehold. We were both like, we should move closer, and we thought Millstone or Upper Freehold would be great because we want our kids to go to Allentown. So
Perfect.
it worked out great.
Smart.
So they're in the district. They're in the community. What are some things you do to? I like to finish off a little fun here. What are some things you guys do as a family, or you like to do on your downtime, or
so like we obviously,
family time?
as most people would say, we love spending time with friends.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's recently we've been on a few camping trips with friends.
Nice.
I love. This is more for me personally. I love yard work.
Cool.
It's because it's like all the things that are happening on a daily basis. It's like being able to like rake leaves or trim a bush is like cathartic for me. You know what I mean? And so like exercising. Don't do it as much as I should. One of those things. Probably shouldn't be saying that to you guys.
That's a
Keep yourself active. Go
exactly.
camping, hiking.
Trips, vacations, spending quality time with kids. It's right now. It's sort of there's 3 kids that are like full energy kids.
What's the ages?
So I have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Oh wow!
Right, 5-year-old.
So
sorry.
they're all.
So they're like all
a
over the
bundle,
place,
yeah.
man. It's all good, and so spending time with them is great. Spending time with my wife is great. But the traditional stuff. I don't have like a real quirky hobby that like people are like, really? But I just like I love yard work. I love our house. I love like working on it to make it better. It's probably that same.
I love the just the simplicity and the balance and the trueness to just kind of like. I mean. It's humbling. I mean, I know people still to this day have never touched a blade of grass in their life. You know what I mean, or never done anything.
I still do everything myself right now, which is probably silly of me to do.
But like you said, that's where you go to that place.
Right, I like that.
It's a beautiful thing to hear. Just to close it all off, a little bit of my reflection. So, as humbling as I could remember from the first experience we met you, everyone listening, if you could. Just put it into perspective that the Mark speaking here today, and he's unlike. And I'm not just saying this because you're here. From our perspective of seeing, like I said, my wife in teaching. My mom has been in teaching. She's actually retiring next year. Seeing how he holds himself as just a man, even outside of his position right now. He's sitting down with us at a podcast that he doesn't have to wake up on a Saturday morning. We're recording right now and come in here. But for him to give us the time and be able to share his experience with you as listeners and with ourselves and with our community to help our movement grow and be part of that. So thank you for spending your time here.
Thank you.
Keep an eye on the housing market for us. Have you seen them pop up in there? I know there's no deals going on right now, but we're in the,
We'd love
in the
to have
Upper
you part
Freehold
of the team,
Regional
right?
for sure.
We're moving over there.
I mean, this is one along with the top episodes. This is one of my favorite episodes. Just getting finished with it right now is a very, very humbling experience. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, and to everybody, just remember, like, don't give up on things. When you know you should be in certain people's circle, don't give up. We waited a long time, but we knew we would get this for ourselves because selfishly, we want to be around high-level people, right? But selflessly, this is also, like Paul just said, for everybody to take a listen to and understand that, we're all trying to figure things out. We're all trying to grow and connect with humans and just to be our best selves, because when you're your best self, it comes down the line and everybody else can grow and evolve from it. So, try to be present, be present in every moment and take the most from those moments and grow from them and evolve and just keep working to become the next best version of yourself and really go out of your way to surround yourself with like-minded individuals and don't give up on them, because in the end, it'll always, the cream rises to the top, they say, right? So at the end, if you don't give up and you keep surrounding yourself, all that can do is just good for everybody else around you. So again, we're super grateful for the opportunity. Hopefully this is not the last time that we're all sitting down and connecting, and we're just going to keep going from here. And again, we learned a lot from today, so thank you, because the way that you carry yourself, present yourself, speak, and just the stories is really cool to see, and it's inspiring, so thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. I'm going to put you on the spot before we go. Well, give me one of your quote guy. Give me one of your best quotes to leave the people with today.
Oh, man. I go back to my staple. I've said it already. Kids don't care what you know until they know you care. And that happens whether it's your house, whether it's your school, whether it's wherever you are. And the same thing with people. People don't care what you say until they know you care.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you guys for listening in. We'll see you next time on the Relentless Way podcast.
Thank you, guys.